Alright, back again for the second part of this video, but getting back into the anatomy physiology, again, being an offshoot or a more specific study in biology. The central dogma of all biological science comes down to a couple things, but we're going to talk about one specifically right now, and that is the fact that DNA contains the information on how to make RNA, which from all your biology classes up until now, you've noticed that biology is the study of life, and that DNA holds the instructions for coding of proteins, etc., etc. So, with the use of DNA, RNA, put together amino acids, which create proteins, which those proteins in turn, just solely situated around their shape and size, determine the protein specific function. Proteins then, in fact, determine the traits of human beings. So, kind of in a graphical analysis, DNA within our cells is used to produce RNA. That RNA is used to code for sequences of amino acids. The amino acids put it together in long streams make proteins. Proteins are then used in our metabolic chemical reactions to determine the traits of human beings. Therefore, how we are, how we act, and how we function in our environment solely comes down to the sequence of DNA within our cells. Okay. Another thing we need to talk about is the fact that energy is transferred from one thing to another through the chemical reactions or metabolism. You have the catabolic reactions and the anabolic reactions. You either are gaining or losing energy at some point, and that balance is what keeps you alive. The sum of all the chemical reactions in your body is your metabolism. So if you take the anabolic reactions, or the building up of molecules, and the catabolic reaction, which is the breaking down or the expending of energy, you add those two things together, you get metabolism. An imbalance of anabolic and catabolic reactions can often lead into deterrence from homeostasis. Okay. We also have a structure and size function relationship. The shape and size of a molecule, organelle, or cell will determine its function. You also have the function of interdependency. This one is going to be huge. This term right here is something you're going to want to remember for the duration of this class. But interdependency basically means that in all the levels of biological levels of organization, from organelle, cell, tissue, organ system, organism, one malfunction in any portion of that sequence or level of organization cause all levels above it to deter from homeostasis, breakdown, and can often result in the organism itself dying. So basically what it means is, since our cells have been so specialized into form tissues, is that even though it allows for faster and more efficient function, it makes us dependent on systems within our body to survive. And any kind of deterrence from that one specific point in that system can in fact cause the organism to, I guess you could say, fall apart. So for example, your heart cells have to have red blood cells in order to survive, because the red blood cells deliver oxygen, which is needed by the heart muscle cells. So what we have is we have this dependence upon the cardiovascular system to provide oxygen to cardiac muscle cells. But in order for the red blood cells to adequately carry oxygen and deliver carbon dioxide outside of the body, you have to have lungs, or the respiratory system. So in order for the heart, which is part of the cardiovascular system, to survive, it relies upon the respiratory system to obtain oxygen and get rid of carbon dioxide. And for obvious reasons, if one of those two things are interrupted, then the organism ceases to maintain homeostasis and dies. The crude example is, if you are being suffocated, you no longer can carry oxygen throughout the cells start to die, you die. So what you need to understand is, at every single level, biological level of organization, there is interdependence for survival. So now we're diving right into this term, homeostasis. Homeostasis is maintaining a relatively stable working internal system or conditions. These are things like internal pH, which is the level of acidity or basicness of your blood. You have temperature. There's a large, vast multitude of ranges that have to be maintained. And despite changes in the internal and external environment, your body is constantly fighting to maintain a stable working environment. So when there are disruptions in this, this is when disease comes in. Disruptions in any body's homeostasis or the homeostatic mechanisms, which can be caused by anything from genetics, pathogenic organisms, tumors, cancers, physical or chemical agents, your diets, smoking cigarettes, any of these things can cause homeostasis to deter, resulting in drastic changes in the body. What we then start diving into are your positive and negative feedback loops that help maintain homeostasis, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper into those later. And again, this is Riffy. Let me know if you have any questions.